Hey, man.
Tom, Henrik, how are you guys doing?
Good, man. You?
I am fantastic. How is Prog Power this year? You guys did your release party the other night. How'd that go?
Fantastic. Everything went well.
It was awesome. A lot of people and very, very good reactions on the album. So it was a really nice time.
All right, so The Storm Within is now out, finally. Being honest, I was skeptical you guys could match Hymns for the Broken, yet it seems you have bested it. Congratulations on the new record.
Well, thank you so much, man. Thank you.
Absolutely.
I feel great. I mean, the reactions, as Henrik said, are fantastic. We are overwhelmed and, yeah, just a happy bunch of guys.
Well, I was really looking forward to it. I tell you on a side note, the day that we posted your review, which was written by the wonderful Jeff Tietz of Mind Maze, we got so many hits on your review, it literally broke the website. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. So The Storm Within is such a powerful album. Tell us about the record from your perspective.
I think it is an album that is Hymns for the Broken's bigger brother, darker, less convenient, if you will, and a bit more complicated, and also demands more of the listener. But when you sort of give it the time it's supposed to have, then a whole world will open up, and I think that's what's happening with people today. On their fifth listen, or all around the world, looking at the reactions, that's, the album is doing well for us, for sure.
Absolutely. It's definitely one of those albums you have to give repeated listen-tos, because every time it's like layers, more and more stuff comes out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Evergrey is not a fast food band,
Right.
We're not a 3-minute pop band. We do write things in layers and put a lot of effort into all the tiny details that we know that you will hear after, the third or fourth listen, which is, I think it's a great thing. I think that's an album. I'd like an album to be like that. So
absolutely. And you guys have a knack for creating these cinematic soundscapes of loneliness and desolation, yet there always seems to be hope in there.
Yeah, I don't know how we do that. It's just something that is within us, I guess.
Yeah, it's interesting that The Storm Within is an album about sort of the contrary nature of love, yet you also Tom, have hailed it as something of a violent album. Can you share what you meant by that?
Well, I think I was misinterpreted. Since the album is about love and having love and losing it, it's about all those immoral thoughts and the emotions you go through, and where violence is one of them, where violent thoughts are one of them. When it gets really dark and lonely and desolate, So I wouldn't say the album is violent as such, but yeah, it's a heavier, darker album for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, you guys filmed several videos for the new record in Iceland, which is intriguing because Iceland is such a beautiful country, yet you went there to capture sort of that cinematic sense of desolation and despair, it looks like. Yeah,
that was the vision we had inside when we started creating from just a few piano notes, and we said, oh, this sounds like this, and we got visions from and drew inspirations from movies like Prometheus and The Martian and whatever else there was, and all of a sudden we discovered that they were all recorded on Iceland, so then we said it would be cool if we could go there and record the videos on our own, and so that's what we have done.
And they turned out fantastic. I'm looking forward to the third one. Which track is the third one going to be?
Oh, The Impossible.
Oh.
I almost forgot. Yeah.
All right. Well, did you guys try anything new on this record that you haven't really done before, either in terms of how you approach the record or different instruments or anything like that?
Let me think. Let us think. Actually, we did use the same formula as we did on the Hymns for the Broken album because it worked extremely well for us. The methods of recording, writing, and producing the album was something that we sort of figured out along the way for that album, and now we use pretty much the same setup. We rent a studio in the middle of Gothenburg. We live in there and are being caught in this bubble, I guess. So that was the difference in between the albums, that we sort of stayed in the same studio all together. We didn't do that for the Hymns for the Broken album.
Right. Now, obviously, we don't have time to talk about all of the songs on the record, but I wanted to ask you about my personal favorite, In Orbit. Tell us a little bit about that track.
Yeah, I mean, it's of course featuring Floor from Nightwish. It's a song that came quite late in the process of writing, and it came from the idea where my wife said that we should ask Floor if she wanted to be on an album, since they are friends. And Floor have always been not always maybe, but for many years been an Evergrey fan. But we never had any songs that we sort of felt that fitted her enough so that we would want her to participate on the album. But for this album, quite late, as I said, Rickard wrote the piano riff, and that sounded sort of Nightwishy, and then we said, well, maybe we should ask her for this. And when she said yes, we started creating this song around that fact. And yeah, I think it's a killer song for the album. It's one of the songs that brings the versatility to the album, and it's a cool song. It will be a cool song to play live, even if I will have to portray Floor them. That might not be that cool.
Well, you guys have so many wonderful elements on the album anyway. Obviously, Floor's on the album. Your incredible wife, Karina's on there again, which we're all thrilled to see her back. And, of course, you had on Distance, you had that children's choir thing going on. Did you guys know going in that you wanted to do some of these elements that you brought in, or did they just sort of come together while you were in the studio?
Well, both. The Paradox of the Flame was Henrik's idea that we should do, since it was 20 years since we did it on the first album, a real duet. So that's cool. And but I mean, all these other things, they sort of pop up during the the creative process. And I don't know how that happens. It just happens.
Well, and that sort of leads me to my next question. I was going to ask, which track on the album was sort of the most difficult to complete for you? I know that a lot of times when you're making a record, it's like you come in with a song and it either goes in a different direction once you get in the studio, or you have one that's just really sort of hard to get nailed down exactly the way you want it. Which one was that for you on this record?
Well, I think it's going to be, I mean, different things can be very difficult to get down. But some of the guitar parts on Distance, for instance, is just, it doesn't sound like nothing, but it's actually very hard to play. So that took some time for me to put down as far as getting the right vibe and the right sound of the guitar. But I don't know. I think it was, other than that, it was a walk in the park.
Yeah, it was actually extremely easy. On the vocal side of things, I had some struggles, mostly because there was such little amount of time to write and record vocals. And but other than that, it actually went extremely smooth.
Nice. So I've always wondered, everybody's different. How long does it usually take you guys after you've recorded and released a record? How long does it take you before you can look back at the album objectively?
Oh, can you ever?
Can you ever? Yeah. I don't think you can. But I mean, more or less objectively, this album was written and recorded in such a rush that we put, there was a time frame we put on ourselves, but so we were so into just doing what was needed to be done that when we started receiving the first mixed songs from Jacob in Denmark, we didn't even know what songs it was sometimes, because we had already sort of forgotten. So that was quite objective, to be honest. But other than that, I mean, I don't know, a few years at least.
Well, and you guys have had a few years now. This album is sort of a celebration of your 20th anniversary. What stands out for you guys most looking back over the last 2 decades? I mean, you guys have done 10 albums now, which it's astounding how much you've done in this short amount of time. Has it flown by for you? What stands out for you the most?
That we are still doing this. That's what we are amazed about. Actually, I mean, it's such a privilege to be able to play music with your friends and travel the world and play it for people who like to hear it. And I mean, yeah, the time did fly by. When you think of it, it's kind of mind-blowing that we have done 10 albums and are still doing contemporary, fresh, hungry music, I think. So,
what having just completed the 10th album, where you're at now, what are your memories from making that first album back in, 1998 when you released it, if memory serves?
Yeah, just being extremely happy to get your music on tape, At the same time, extremely hungry and eager to get on with work for the second one, because releasing one album anyone can do. Releasing 2 albums, then that's something at least. So, yeah, I mean, extremely cool feeling. You're a bit more jaded today. It's still extremely cool, but yeah. When you get to hold your CD, we got to hold the CD in our hands last night, or the day before, for the first time. I mean, things roll by quicker today, So we have shit that we need to do, and so that doesn't give us that much time. But I know that some night at home we will sit and maybe listen to the album on our own and go through the booklet and whatnot, and that's a really cool feeling.
Absolutely. I think part of that comes with age too. It just seems to go by faster. Yeah. All right, so before we get out of here, besides the new record, The Storm Within, of course, will you be doing anything special to sort of mark this 20-year point in your history?
Now, the thing is also that we haven't had in mind that this was 20 years, because we have been releasing, artists releasing albums since 98, and that would make 20 years in 2018. So in my mind, that's where I have been, sort of. So maybe then we will. It would be great to do like a DVD or something like that. But we'll see. It also has to make sense, all of it.
Awesome, Tom, Henrik. Thank you so much for taking some time. Right before we get out of here, last question. You guys are obviously here in the States for Prog Power this weekend. Are there plans set yet for possibly coming over to the U.S. for a tour?
Yeah, in May.
Next spring. Beautiful. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time. Enjoy the last night of Prog Power. The album is fantastic. I think you've got a top 5 album of 2016 there, and I congratulate you on the incredible work you did.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rusty.
Take care, guys.